welcome back. Today we are continuing a conversation we started last week. We've been talking about the gift of prophecy in our series on spiritual gifts. Today we're going to talk about, we already talked about dreams, but let's talk about more in depth, interpreting dreams, trying to discern dreams, things like that. Actually, we're going to talk more about discernment on all prophetic type stuff on Friday this week. But today let's talk more about like trying to discern dreams. So we've already addressed that God can speak through dreams, and that's a very biblical thing for him to do. But when he does, how do we pick up on it? That's some of the questions that we often ask. So let's go ahead and read a dream from Joseph from the Bible and see where it goes and see how we interpret it. So do you remember the dreams of Joseph? Do you remember how they're interpreted very well?
Yes.
I remember a couple of them.
I need the person who remembers least. And you could do this too. I'm going to read them because not everyone remembers like every detail. Mm-hmm. I want you to remember without having like checked it before. Why would I think this goes this way? So,
well, just keep in mind that if I do try to figure it out based on my knowledge, it'll probably be a bunch of VeggieTales references.
It probably will. It's true.
I mean,
It's been a lot of those. All right, so I'll read the dream from the cupbearer, okay? In my dream, there was a vine before me. On the vine, there were 3 branches. As soon as it budded, its blossoms shot forth, and the clusters ripened into grapes. Pharaoh's cup was in my hand. I took the grapes and pressed them into Pharaoh's cup and placed the cup in Pharaoh's hand. What happened?
They made grape juice.
Well, okay, so based on this dream, we're looking for the symbolism, right? Again, a lot of people think of Bible dreams as like insert binary code into computer for translation, whereas it's more like, here's a parable with imagery. What does the imagery mean? God's telling a story right now. So, you said what?
I said they made grape juice.
They made grape juice. Why is that important to this dream? Or how much you interpret it? So, context. And this is important, actually. Very important to dream interpretation. What is the context when you receive the dream? It helps you like contextualize the story being told. So if it helps, the cupbearer is in prison right now with Joseph. So there's your context when he receives this dream and tells it to Joseph. So what does this dream behold for him imagery wise? You say he's giving Pharaoh grape juice, wine, something like that, right? So if he's currently in jail, what might that mean?
He'll get freedom?
What? I can't hear you over the car.
I said he'll get freedom?
He'll get freedom. So that would be one natural interpretation. Right now he's in jail, but in this dream, he's doing his job again. It's as though he's been let go from jail. Okay, so what else stands out in this dream symbolically or anything like that?
Well, there was 3.
3. So numbers can be important in dreams. Does anybody remember what the 3 means in this? In this case, it was 3 branches.
Is that going to be 3 months?
3 days in this case. So, and timing sometimes, this is one where you especially got to realize like you need God's help for interpretation, because how do we know that Joseph's not thinking 3 months versus 3 days versus 3 years versus something
3 hours.
Else? 3 hours, yeah. For Joseph, he still has to submit his interpretation to God so he can be led by the Holy Spirit for some answers. But yeah, 3 days is what he gets. And we can see the progression of time, right? Because there's a vine, and now we have branches. We have something growing. And that gives you the illusion of time. Something is continuing. And as soon as it budded, its blossoms shot forth. Now, you guys already said last week you're not visual people in your thoughts, right?
Nope.
So if this was me listening to a story, I'm seeing here's a green vine. It's already looking healthy. Nothing that's been said so far, imagery wise, makes me think like it's dying or whatever. It's growing even. It's got 3 branches. And then blossoms. I'm getting bursts of color all of a sudden. I'm getting flowers opening up. I'm getting beauty, things like that. Like, again, I'm getting more interpretation of something positive, more color being added into the dream, not like the bleh, it blossoms and then dies right in front of you. It's not that. So like I'm paying attention to the imagery, I'm paying attention to the color, and then it ripens into grapes, almost as though like within time, your job as the cupbearer is ripening, good words, positive words, coming back, right? Mm-hmm. And then it ends with him taking Pharaoh's cup, placing it in his hand. So I love how he gets that line at the end as though like, well, that was all we needed to know, I guess. But Joseph's able to speak more into that. He's got the 3 days and things like that. So see how that wasn't just like a straight cut of insert binary code for translation. Instead, there's like, if we thought about this, we could figure this out. Mm-hmm. So what were some of the things, again, that we learned to catch on to in that particular dream?
Numbers.
Colors.
Context.
When we say color, we could say like general feel of it. Okay, so that was one dream. Let's try another one now. So we had the same context in this case. This one's the baker. Baker is also in jail. And then here's his dream. You still remember this one?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, we're putting it on Olivia. I also had a dream. There were 3... Close your eyes. Listen. Image. Make it happen in your brain. Think it out. This will happen. There were 3 cake baskets on my head. And in the uppermost basket, there were all sorts of baked food for Pharaoh. But the birds were eating it out of the basket on my head. Okay, come back to us. What did you see? What happened? What did it look like? What did it feel like? What were you catching on to? What's the symbolism? Let's do this.
Wait,
I think
how many baskets?
remember this one from
VeggieTales.
probably. But there's a man who is frantically trying to swat away birds while also trying to not tip over the giant baskets on his head. So we've got franticness, a bit of
Fear.
Well, yeah, fear, but I don't know. I lost the word. It's gone. But also, birds are eating the thing that is meant for the higher up person. So that's not a good sign.
Now, did the birds live or die?
The birds were fine. They were eating.
So the food's not poisoned. So
Well-
it's not Colonel Mustard in the library.
Well, so here's why what Olivia did is so important. Like, if I was to just read this, I had 3 baskets on my head, which is, I'm guessing, cultural, because, we've all seen the, like, images of people stacking things in other cultures and walking around. Like, you're just thinking of someone walking on their head, or walking on their head. You're thinking of somebody walking around with stuff on their head. But Olivia, she's imagining it. She sees the birds come, and now he's like, like trying to hold it all up. I never said things were like falling over or crashing to the ground or struggling. As she imagined the words, it seemed to take more of a positive or negative? Negative feeling to it. There's a lot of kind of bad stuff going on here. If you were to even paint this with a color, was there like a general kind of feel in it?
I would say gray-black.
Okay, gray, black. In my mind, it's kind of brownish, deserty, black birds flying down. But as far as like vines blossoming and budding and color bursting forth, Did we see any of that anywhere? Did we get that feeling? No. So in this particular dream, we had how many baskets of food?
3.
What do you think that interprets here?
3 lengths of time.
3 lengths of time.
Probably days again.
It is days again. Joseph says it's 3 baskets, 3 days. In 3 days, Pharaoh will lift up your head from you, is how the ESV says it, and hang you on a tree. And what do you guys think the birds will do after that?
They're gonna eat him.
They're gonna eat the flesh from you.
Yeah, the eyeballs.
So that's like outside of our current context. We're not used to people just going outside and hanging people. But like, let's say you see birds in a dream chipping away at something by your head. Like, and you're thinking of birds, you're thinking of how they eat, like vultures are out there eating all the dead things and whatnot.
I mean, there's enough deer
I imagine
carcasses on the side of the roads.
Crows, yeah. So you saw crows. That's what I saw too. And so we're thinking, you see that Joseph doesn't just come to like the birds are gonna. Joseph doesn't come to you're gonna die out of nowhere. The birds for him are symbolic interpretation of just as I've seen birds eating carcasses out there, just as I know people get hung and birds eat at them after. Sorry, man, this is what's ahead of you. And so, again, not binary code. It's giving yourself over to the Holy Spirit to work through a gifting to bring about interpretation. So, was there anything new in that one that helped us discern it that we didn't have in the last one? We had context, numbers, symbols. Food was a symbol. Color kind of helped us get a feel as to it. Imagining it out a little bit more helped us get like the feeling of it. I don't know that we had anything else new exactly. Okay, so those are some things that help us understand dreams and their context and how to interpret them. Let me give you one that's from me. Casey, unfortunately, has heard this story. So
And the interpretation.
So I'm giving it to Olivia and you. And then you can pause the video and say, what do I think this dream was about for Jamin? So I actually mentioned this dream once where I said, God, I'm reading this book on dreams. It'd be really cool if I got a dream. Oh, well, go to bed, have a dream that night, wake up and like, that was a weird dream. And I stop and I'm like, wait, was that a God dream? I did pray about that. And then I interpret it and I'm like, there is context here. So here's the dream. And you don't know the interpretation from Veggie Tales because they didn't make this movie. All right? So, yeah, close your eyes. I'll read it out to you.
But did they?
There was a fairly small yet scary looking spider in a kind of dimmish, brownish room. And I didn't count how many legs it had, but it almost seemed as if there was like more than 8. And I became aware of its presence when it crawled across a mirror that I was looking at. Got this all visualized? Yeah, okay. And then I was like afraid to like touch it because, spiders. So I went and like tried to find a long pair of scissors so I could like cut it in half, but from a distance, like I didn't have to touch it. But then it just kind of like, it went away and I didn't have to stare at it anymore. So I just let it go. But then I'm like, I know it's still in the room with me. So like, I want to get rid of it because I don't want to just like, that's always there, So finally I see it in the middle of the room. I take a clear container, I trap it in it. And as soon as I do, 3 candles pop up, ignite into flame, and like explode and kill it. Okay, there's our dream. Let's see what Olivia does. First off, I'll pause if you want, think about it. We'll see where Olivia goes, then I'll give the interpretation that I felt was appropriate. It's a little harder because you don't know the context yet, but we'll get there. So, okay, Olivia, what are the symbols? What what stands out to you? What does it look like? How would you interpret it? Let's see.
Okay. Well, obviously the spider was a symbol. I think you said there were 3 candles that popped up.
Mm-hmm.
So there's probably some symbolism going on with that. Maybe I think the mirror might be a symbol of something. I feel like the mirror might be important. And then the jar. The jar is going to be important as well, I feel.
So, okay, so we've got our important symbols. You're correct on all those things. If you were to try to give that an interpretive spin, where would you go with it?
So I think the spider is a bad habit. And when it comes across the mirror, it's basically you becoming aware of a bad habit that you had. And you go to find the scissors to get rid of it because you want the easy way to fix the habit, but that doesn't work and the spider gets away. But then you end up being able to catch it in the jar, and when you're forced to face it, the 3 candles come up and get rid of it for you. So I think the 3 candles are God. We've got Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, and they're eliminating that burden from you.
Wow.
So, what you're seeing right now is a legitimate discovery right here on the Jackson Cloud that Olivia probably has the gift of interpretation of dreams type thing here, just like Joseph did. I don't even know what to correct. That was like
That was
literally
legit, word for word.
without context.
Like-
That's exactly what the dream meant and what I go on in my notes to say out loud right after. So there you go. Now, if you struggled to get that, that may be either not like a strong gifting yet or something to work on or, just whatever. It takes time to figure this out. But literally almost word for word nailed exact. I don't even need to re-explain. That's correct. So,
I was like,
Casey's heard this before.
I've heard this
several times.
before, and I was just like,
What is she doing? What is this?
wait, am I being punked right now? Did Jamin tell Olivia that earlier? Like,
maybe she heard me preach on this before. I don't know.
Not that I remember.
Okay, all right.
because I was legit thinking, am I getting punked right now? Like,
So yeah, no, that was so very clear though. Do you dream much?
I have dreams. I struggle to remember my dreams,
Most people do. That's normal.
but sometimes I'll have dreams that are very vivid that hours after waking up will suddenly come back to me and I'll be like, wow, that's a weird dream.
Yeah. There's people who don't dream at all. Like my mentor who taught me about spiritual gifts never dreams. So we've talked about recognizing the way that we're wired. Is it possible before that moment that I had spiritual dreams before and the reason I never noticed is simply because I didn't try or know such a thing existed? Probably, because I woke up from that dream and tell me, you're looking at a mirror, you see a spider crawling, you throw a thing on it, 3 candles pop up. That's weird, and it matches all dreams because most dreams are just straight up weird. So the fact that you already dream and the fact that you interpreted that so perfectly shows that you have something that you should keep pushing into because you might be gifted in the kind of prophetic avenue of dreaming.
Cool.
All right, so there.
You learn something new every day.
Yeah, the only detail that I was thinking that you could zoom in more is spiders crawling across a reflection of myself, but the only thing that I'm seeing is my sin, and then not focused. I can't even see myself because I hate this thing so much, That would speak more into the context. If you knew where I was at that point, you would have already known such a thing. So, anyways, things to pay attention for as we wrap up. We've already hit on a bunch of it. Color. Olivia just showed us characters, right? In the other stories, vines were a character, bread was a character, kind of, or as at least a symbol. In this one, though, you had the character of the spider, right? Other characters you might zoom in sometimes is like maybe your dad's in the dream, your mom's in the dream, mentors in the dream. Well, what do they represent to you? Because now we're thinking symbolically. Like, my mom's in this dream. Why is she in this dream? Well, she always represented to me love and compassion. Or maybe your mom was not that way. It's like, oh, just I could never do good enough type thing. You know, why is that there? What is God wanting to speak into this? Is it specifically a message for your mom, or is it to bring back that feeling so God can speak into it? Your mom always said you weren't good enough, but I want to tell you how much I love you. You know, like it could be like that. Numbers we talked about. And then there's reoccurring dreams as well. Reoccurring dreams, just know this. If you're having the same dream all the time, which does not happen to me, I don't even know if I've ever had a reoccurring dream. But if you're having a reoccurring dream all the time, it's shouting, listen to me, right? So it could be God saying, like, you need to take this serious, but could also be a demon saying, you need to take me serious. I want to get this theme stuck in your head. Like my friend I mentioned, your aunt will never be saved. She'll never be saved. Oh, okay. She hears it so much she starts to believe it. Or it could be your flesh, right? I mean, we all know that the brain is scientific, deals with processing all your emotions. And especially when there's great difficulty that comes into our lives, your brain sometimes gets stuck in that place and doesn't always come out of it because it's reprocessing it every time you go to sleep. So reoccurring dreams scream, yell at me. The question becomes, what's the source? Is it God? Is it you? Or is it Satan? And that is what we will talk about on Friday.
Hey everybody, Casey here. We talked about interpreting dreams and tips for that. So be sure to, if you have any tips that you can think of or that we missed, put them down below in the comments. Also be sure to go over to Discord so we can talk to you there. And we'll see you tomorrow. Or not tomorrow. The next. When's our episodes again? Is this Wednesday? Is this Friday? I don't even know!